Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Swerve with me. This is a show where we have adult conversations for mature audiences only. We talk to people who have overcome challenges and they're not afraid to show their scars or to speak their truth. And tonight we are going to have a very, very rich and interesting conversation about what's happening with our sons and daughters. So as you come in, go ahead and tag somebody and let them know. I'm going to do the same thing. Tag somebody, let them know that Swerve with Me is back. And we are expecting to have a very, very lively, provocative, dynamic conversation with two people who I believe will help shed some insight into what we are doing. So, right now, let me tag this and then we're going to get going. Okay. So I want to introduce to you tonight. Let me bring both of them in the same time. Leonardo Burrows and Necole Watson. Good evening, guys. Okay, mic's close, y'all. Okay, I got you. I got you. Okay. So, good evening, Leonardo Burrows, Necole Watson. Necole is an executive pastor at Trinity. Help me with the name.
City of Praise.
Trinity City of Praise executive pastor, worship leader extraordinaire. She also is a coach for singles and a plethora of other things, which we'll get into at some point in the show. Leonardo Burrows is an inspector with the Royal Bahamas Police Force, and for the past umpteen years, he's been working with a lot of youth organizations, and he has one and runs one himself, which he will tell us more about. But I wanted to have this conversation this week because it's a post that Necole posted on May 24th, that triggered a myriad of thoughts that have since and spin-offs that have since happened since I read that particular post. And Necole, if you pull it up, you have it still available? Do you? If not, I'll go ahead and read it. You don't have
Yes.
to. I'll
No.
go ahead and read it. So here's the post that Necole on Facebook. It was a post on Facebook on May rather. I don't know why I'm going back to March. On May 24th, that triggered the the genesis for this particular show. And she said marriages will be in great crises in the future if we don't upgrade the men's syllabus. Girls are being trained to be bosses, make their own money, and run the world. How are the boys being trained? Because these girls are not going to be your maids, sex slaves, and trophy wives anymore. Sela. Let's just let that
Mm.
simmer on that, right? And so people came in like, period, girl, you know that's right. Ooh, girl, you on it. Bullseye, la yada yada yada. Then one male came in and said, but once they meet like the biblical standards or something of what a wife should be and all that kind of stuff. So there were few males that actually responded to that. And so I almost immediately, when I read that post, reached out to Necole because I said, girl, we need to talk about this. And then as I thought further, I was like, you know what? We can't have this conversation without a male. And so you came highly recommended as our token male tonight
The lamb to the slaughter.
to bring some insight, give us some revelation into exactly what men are saying. So that's where we're going tonight. That's the kind of conversation that we're having tonight. And I want to start off with Necole because you posted that. Tell us where that thought came from.
Out of conversation, having a conversation with a friend, and we were talking about how times have changed. We were talking about our parents and when they were growing up and how our mother would be the ones that will be staying home, or our grandparents, they stayed home to take care of the house, to ensure that all was well. They were the ideal wife, the ones that made sure that the food was cooked on time, housekeeping was done, clothes were washed and everything. They weren't allowed to go out and go to college and go to school. But my grandfather was allowed to do whatever he wanted to do, and just be the boss of everything. And he would come home to a well put together home. And my grandmother made sure that we were all healthy. My mother was healthy, and my uncles and everybody else were all, she took care of everything. And my grandfather was just the one who would go out to work, and he would be the mayor of the city, of the town, the little Andrews town, and run things out there and just come home to his wife. And now we were talking about how times have evolved, and the women today are no longer want to be stay-home wives. They no longer can do that. They have to now, they have the option of learning and growing and being and thriving and developing themselves as to who it is they want to do and be. They have purpose, and they want to go out and do that. And now, we don't know really. We're trying to figure out what is the line between being able to be wives, one that's going to meet the needs of your husband and your family, but still to be able to complete all of the things that you want to do, all of your dreams and visions, and see them being and might be seeing it quite differently. Someone said in the post, want a biblical wife standard needs to come back into the home. These girls need to learn what it means to be a wife. I don't know what all that meant at one time, but I heard him. And again, because for some men, they feel as if being a wife is being a sex slave. I can get sex whenever when I want it, and you shouldn't say no, I'm home. The house needs to be clean and my clothes need to be washed, and you need to pick up after me. I am your husband and you are my wife. And so we thought, we were talking about it, and we were like, these girls, we're not training them to do that any longer. We're training them to be bosses. We're training them to go out there and fulfill their dreams and to be all that they can be. We're training them to be strong, independent women, and not to always depend on the male money in order to have it. But you can be a millionaire yourself. You don't have to marry a millionaire. You can be a millionaire. And so if that is the case, and that is the training that we're giving our young women, what are we telling our young men? What are we saying
Leonardo,
to them?
let's pick it up right there. Let them pick it up right there. What are we telling our young men?
I believe that there are a lot of males and a lot of people pouring into males, telling them the similar message. Fellas, you can do something worthwhile with your life. You can be the head. You can actually go there and make life happen for yourselves. They're telling them, because this is the message that I carry as a male to other males, and I work with some groups of males now, and I say to them, young man, you ought to be responsible. You don't have to actually be a product of your environment. Where you live does not define who you are. You actually have to take control of your life and make something happen. But I understand what Necole is talking about in that regard, because women are more empowered. They're doing things that they couldn't do before. Now, with the role reversal, there's a challenge sometimes with males who are from the traditional mindset, and they hide behind a religious feeling that, oh, the Bible says you do this and you do that, because they're not exposed to the level to understand that a woman is her own unique individual, and she is entitled to grow and flourish. And for you, fella, it means that if you are going to meet her where she is, you have to come with something. You can't just come with talks. You can't just come with nothing to offer. And women actually want that in our males. I don't feel as if there is a, a wide gap where males are not getting it. What I do believe and what I do understand is that while the roles have changed, men from days gone by, and I mentioned it earlier with my grandmother days, they were trained, fellas, you get up, you go to work, and you provide. Women stay at home. But now that changed. Now, my question was, because the roles have changed, because we've grown, we've actually matured in a lot of respects, how has that changed for the male? And if that has changed and the female now is more empowered and they're seeking more, how now does she relate to the male in terms of what she wants, even if that man hasn't gone to college, but he's still progressive, He may not be so much white collar, but blue collar or technical. Will he still meet her standards? So these are the larger conversations that we need to have, and sometimes we shy away from. If he doesn't have a degree, does he still possess competence to her standard? And that's another question.
Mhm.
And that creates a gap.
Mhm.
So here's the thing. I want to roll it back a little bit to historically what really happened. It's not just that times changed. Women were forced into the work field, and that's when World War One took place. Husbands went out to war. Some never came back. When they went out to war, women were forced to fill their roles in the work field. Women had to go to work for the first time. They had to find work. They had to make sure that their children ate, those who had work. And so that's where the turn started from World War One, when women had to go out there and make things happen for their family. If we dial it back further, when we get into, I believe it was the 40s or 50s in the Bahamas, when there was the contract,
Mhm.
a lot of men left, never came back, or had multiple families in different family islands
Mhm.
Yeah.
and in the US. And so women were forced into a position where they had to. They didn't have a choice. If they wanted to survive, they had to find work. And
Mhm.
so they became more assertive because it was necessary to survive in that period. When we
Mhm.
come into more modern times and women now we're at a place where we want to be educated, we still live, don't get it wrong, don't get it twisted for a minute, we still live in a patriarchal society. And for as
Mhm.
many strides of women are making, we're still like 10 steps behind men. Because
Mhm.
the reality is, we're telling our girls to get out there to get this, but men generally still control everything.
Mhm.
And so, whenever a woman happens to step into a position of authority, we cheer her on. For those of us who are mature enough to do that, we cheer her on and we wish her the best success and all that kind of stuff. So, Leonardo, when you talk about whether a woman is ready to accept a blue collar man if he's progressive, I say yes. And the key is, if he is progressive, if he is ambitious, if he is working, if he does have a vision for his life.
Mhm.
Women are not prepared to follow a parked car.
Mhm.
You have to be actually doing something. And so I don't want to veer so much into this thing about males and females as much as so this woman who by extension has gone to college, Necole, and for some of them they may say, I want a man who has a degree too. And that's a
Mhm.
preference, and that's fine.
Mhm.
For some, they may be saying, listen, I just need this man to have a vision, to be ambitious, to be working towards
Mhm.
and progressive. And that's where I come in. What
Mhm.
he lacks, I'm that helpmeet. I will help him to get to
Mhm.
the next step. So we have a group of women who are prepared to do that as well.
Mhm.
The question is, we're taught in the church that we should be waiting to be found,
Mhm.
right? We should be waiting to be found. This woman, you're supposed to be waiting to be found. Where are those men, Leonardo? I want to start this with you and then go to Necole. So where are those men, and where are men looking? Because women are sitting waiting to be found.
See, like I said, with a lot of changes, traditionally, the women would wait to be found. And at one point, I was more of the traditional male that I preferred, and I actually wanted to be the hunter. But sometimes men move a little bit slow, and women drop a little nugget here and there to let them know, hey, I'm here without being overbearing and so much flaunting and out there. And I understand the reality of the changes, but I believe because you asked where are those men, the men are right there. However, in our society and right now how things are, we may feel as if, okay, does this man have to be a Bahamian or does this man exist someplace else? And being open to the fact that maybe that person for you may not be at where your area code is in the 242 to really put things in perspective. Because with being exposed and having a desire for more and looking for more, sometimes where we are, that particular skill set or that particular caliber may not be right in our vantage point. But I have no issues, and especially now because I understand things a little bit differently. Understanding when a lady or female makes a subtle advance, I have no issues with that. And there may be males that have that, but there are also males they're not for that because they have the traditional mindset. So herein, you don't have a one size fit all category because we look at things through different lenses.
Mhm, mhm. So, with that said, Nicole, he's saying I'm going to deem you a modern man. Okay, so he's saying as a modern man, he doesn't necessarily mind a woman stepping up to him. That's not what we I gotta say, that's not what we've been traditionally taught.
Not at all.
So pick it up, Nicole, and from what he was saying.
Well, traditionally, the woman has been taught, like you said, we have been taught not to chase, not to chase men, but as a decent woman of worth, that you wait to be chased. And because the scripture says, he that finds a wife finds a good thing. And so in your waiting not necessarily needs to be you sitting around waiting for the man to see you sitting on the dock, you know, watching the tide go by. No, not at all. But rather you are being who you are. You are serving. You are purposefully fulfilling your call, your life. You are going on enjoying your life. And say maybe he sees you enjoying your life along the walk on the way. He says, hey, look at that woman over there, she's enjoying her life. The Ruth and Boaz story, with her in the field doing the work, and here comes this man who passes and says, who's that? And so, because she's about doing her work and being purposeful, he sees this woman with characteristics and beauty, what he desires. And so then he comes to her and say, "Hey, I want to meet you. I want to get to know you." Yada yada yada. That's what we've been taught. This is the way in which we journey through life as single people. This is what the church has taught us, and so we have stayed on that path, and it has found us so many times in a place of wanting, in a place of I'm waiting to be found. I am just out here waiting. Where are the men? Where are the men? Well, it's 12 of us women now to one man. I think the ratio has gone up. It used to be 10, it's now 12 to one man. And so we are waiting for this man, this specimen to pass and say, hello, see me here, see me here. So we all sitting down in life waiting to be found. That doesn't sit very well with me. That doesn't sit very well with me at all. Like 12 women sitting down waiting for this one man. Like, here's the thing, we just waiting for him to pass and choose one out of us. Which one is going to be today? A, B, C, D. Oh, you're the lucky one, and the rest of us get to sit and wait for another 12 years for another man to pass. No, I don't like that idea. I don't like how that makes me feel. I don't like how that makes me feel. I feel as if we ought to live. We ought to live. Our desires have been placed in our lives because God has given us these desires. His desire is for us to marry. He doesn't want us to be alone. Okay, he doesn't want us to be alone. His desire is for us to marry. And if that is your desire, if your desire is to marry, then I think it will happen. It can happen. It will happen. But like everything, it's based on God's timing for your life. It's based on what it is you want, when it is you want to have it. It's your choice. You choose what it is you want. And that's how life is. Life is filled with choices. You're not just sitting there waiting for something to happen to you. What are you choosing to do? We've all been given the same measure of time in a day. We always say this. Our parents always tell us this. What you do with your time and what she does with her time is based on your choices. It's based on what you choose to do. And how it ends at the end of the day is not, oh, well, I was lucky and she was unlucky in life. No, it was what she chose to do. Her decisions brought her to that place. And so again, all of that for me is a part of this journey of being discovered, of discovering another person, of knowing who it is your mate is, of coming together. All that is a part of it. It's a long story. It's not no cut and dry piece of thing. I think all of it is a part of it. Back to your question, we as women need to find out for ourselves, what is it that we want? What is it that you want? What do you want? And whatever it is you want, God wants that too, because He's given you those desires. He's given you those desires, okay? And when you delight yourself in Him, He says He'll give you the desires of your heart. And He will give you those desires. He will. We don't need to try and figure it out. We don't need to try and say, oh, well, well, this. No, no, no. That's just going to make a big mess.
And a mess it has made for so many people. I mean, so many times along the way. When we talk about this whole idea of waiting and staying busy, and we know waiting actually means serving.
Right.
We know that. That actually means serving, getting busy, doing things that keep you in alignment with what God would have for your life, as long as your desires, align with His. So the thing is, there are so many different ways. We going back to what's happening with our sons and daughters because somehow they're not meeting in the middle of the road. One is behind, one is ahead, and it could be the male ahead and the female behind, or vice versa. It doesn't seem across the board. This is a generalization that we're meeting in the middle of the road. There's no meeting of the minds, generally, or as much as we believe it should be happening, right? Because, for example, I have three single people here tonight, adults, matured adults,
Mm-hmm.
for varying reasons.
Right.
But it is what it is, right?
It
For
is what
varying
it
reasons,
is.
everybody has their story. So it doesn't seem, Leonardo, that I really want you to help us get some insight into the male psyche, right?
See,
But for example, and I'm talking about at this point, not a 20 something year old young man, because for me, a 20 something year old young man is still trying to figure out, and
Here's
woman
a
for
one.
that fact,
Here's a one
trying to
sense.
figure out who they are, and
How to
and
be.
and by extension what they actually want. And so for me, they're dating multiple women or girls or whatever. To me, that's not a big surprise. Somebody else may be whatever, but that's not a big surprise because they're trying to figure out
Mm-hmm.
who they are, who they want to become, and how they're going to be doing that in at 20 something. At 30 something, some people are still trying to figure that out. But for me, once you cross over 40s and 50s, listen, tell me what's going on in his psyche at 40 something. What is he thinking?
Yes. What's he thinking?
that's that's different depending on the maturity level of the individual. But I will use myself, and I like to sit down and retrospect in relation to things in relation to my life. And while I would have grown and matured in a lot of ways, if I had an opportunity to do it all over again, I probably would have gotten married a little bit younger because I basically what I wanted or the type of female that I wanted to marry, I had that all set up in my head. But the more experiences I went through in life and the older I got, I found that I became a little bit more stubborn and stuck in my ways. So
Okay, stick a pin in there. Stick a pin right there because I want to ask you the type of female that you had in your head. I want you to describe her, and then now in hindsight, did she really exist? Or
I
does that who you had in your head really exist?
okay, so for me, I my attraction was for women. Intellect was paramount for me. I love that. Also, I preferred slim, smaller women. I also I didn't want a woman who was older than I was. I would prefer a little younger. I also would have wanted a woman who wasn't super spiritual, love God, but not too deep. That, the scripture says, so heavenly minded, you're not earthly good, no earthly good. I didn't want that. And then I wanted someone who would respect me for who I am and who was willing to ride until the wheels fall off. If we in this, we're gonna be in this. We're gonna be open to communicate. But then you get old and you get to understand that when you look at looks and size and while age may be a thing, sometimes the dynamics have to change because what you need and what you want isn't wrapped up in a look. And you have to look a little bit more deeper than that. And then as you get older, you become steep in some of your ways as well because you change over the course of the years. So I've had to rethink. I'll take short. I'll take plump because you go for depth now more than all of the more shallow features that you could overlook because the goal and what you want may not come in terms of the package, in terms of size and all those things. But I'm still big on intellect. I'm still big on we're gonna love each other and we're gonna ride until the wheels fall off. Spirituality is something that I prize and that's what I look for. But most of all, we have to connect. And I believe, and I understand it more than I did before, what I didn't do a lot was communicate because conversation leads to intimacy and relationships in a lot of respects lack conversation. You get to learn who a person is. You get to find out where their head is, where their heart is when you engage them in conversation and you actually take that time to learn persons in that respect. And that really is what has changed for me. And that has been a game changer in a lot of ways. So you make a decision based on what you know or based on what you see through having those conversations, whether this is worth going beyond where it is now. And that's why I find myself at this stage. So it's not that I haven't met incredible females, and it's not that I haven't met females who probably met the bill, but I robbed myself out of the opportunity because of my mindset. And I think that's the greatest challenge with a lot of people, mindset.
I think that's very mature for you to be so introspective. So the same thing, I want to stick with you for a little while because you said a lot of interesting things. Take what you have learned about yourself and transfer that now to a young man that you have to talk to, or a boy for that fact, a teenage boy. What would you say to them about the kind of woman that they should be looking for?
I would say to that young man, make sure that the woman that you decide that this is the one that you want to spend your life with, she respects you, she loves God, and you see a future together. She isn't someone that is so interested in taking, but she's a giver and a nurturing type of person. Because even if you are stable, you have a good job, you won't always have that. And sometimes we settle as young males that because I'm the provider now and I could do now that I'm okay, I'm just gonna take care of her and everything will be fine. But if she isn't bringing anything to the table, then you need to watch that as well. Not that you're expecting her to give as you're given, because I'm not talking about that 50-50 rule, because sometimes it may not be 50-50, but then are they open enough that when you're down, that they will lift you? Or when things go left, that they won't turn their back on you and leave you. So you have to take all these things into consideration and take time to get to know her. Go and visit her family. See, go and have a conversation, sit down with her mom, sit down with her father, see how she gets along with her family members, because that tells you how she's going to relate to you, how she's going to relate to your parents, and how she's going to relate to your family. And I think once we get to the more potent parts of connection and relationships, it'll be easier making decisions moving forward. Decisions shouldn't be made on beauty because beauty will fade. Decisions shouldn't be made because somebody said to you in a church, "Oh, this God then show me this is the one for you." You're all gonna gel very good together. I feel this in my spirit because that's gonna fade and that's not gonna last. And so you really have to take that on and prayerfully ask God for direction and insight as you move along.
Necole, take the same question and flip it to what would you say to a young woman
Mm-hmm.
who's looking or waiting or serving or whatever you want to call it for that man? What would you say to her? Like, you heard what he said to the boy, so what would you say to her?
Don't wait to find to live. Don't wait to find to enjoy your life. Enjoy your life right now. Do all that you want to do now. When you do, when you are presented with someone, make sure you do your homework. Do your homework. take the time and do your homework. As women, we go all in very quickly. The moment we meet you 2 days later, we don't see the ring, we don't see the marriage, we don't walk down the aisle, and we didn't have the kids and the house with the picket fence. 2 days later,
Look like you
I
got a
would tell
witness.
I would tell her, girl, go and sip some tea, and go and relax. Take a chill pill and take
And
your
I would
time.
tell her, Google him, put out an
Take
APB on
your
everything. I would do the investigations.
Take your time. Take your time. Even after the investigations, if you still don't feel right about it, take your time. I was talking to my cousin this morning, to this afternoon, just before this, and I was telling her some of the same things because we were talking about this. And I said, enjoy yourself. Enjoy yourself. Don't allow any man to rush you. I don't care how, and that is the thing. I don't care how much he believe you are it. Oh, I don't understand why ain't nobody marry you yet. Oh my God, you've been what? I need you tomorrow. I'm gonna marry you tomorrow. No, no, no. Back it all the way up. And don't let him push you into it. Take your time. And in time, you will see exactly who he is, because time tells you some things that you didn't know before. So take your time, learn to discover him. If he's going to be there with you for life, he's going to be there for you for life. So there's no need to rush. There's no need to rush. People get married because of the wrong deals. They won't have sex. So they go and get married because they won't have sex. That is the worst reason ever to get
Yeah.
married for. Worse. Okay? Because that's this much of the marriage. You can barely see it. Everything else is what the marriage is encompassing. So take your time, relax, take your time, and then find out who he really is. Do all of your homework, and then really prepare yourself. Prepare yourself for what you're about to encounter, because you don't know what you're about to encounter as a single woman. When you get married, you're gonna count the highs, the lows, the ups and the downs, and you can't go nowhere. You can't decide, okay, I'm not gonna talk to you for 2 weeks, and we're gonna come back together, and then we're gonna, have makeup, sex, and call it a day. You can't do that. You're gonna have to be in it, like Leonardo said. You're gonna have to be in it. You're gonna have to face it. You're gonna have to face the hard times. You're gonna have some struggling times. Someone told me they ain't in it for the struggle. I said, well, sweetie, you better not go in it,
No.
because you will struggle.
Stick
There will
up.
be a time you will have a struggling period, because that's how you grow. That's how you grow. That's how you know what you are made up of. You got to go through the hard times. All right. If your faith gonna be tested, it's gonna be tested with some hard things. If you're gonna learn patience, you're gonna learn patience with some hard things. So you're gonna have hard times. So you got to be prepared for that. It's not all a ball of flowers. People go into marriages thinking that this man is gonna make me happy. The man will not make you happy. Marriage is not so that you can be happy. That's not what marriage is about. You need to be happy before marriage. Okay, you
Amen.
don't get married to be happy. You don't go in there looking for, oh, he about to make me happy. No, 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 no. That ain't what that about. So a lot of things we need to settle. We need to have real discussions about what marriage really is, what being a wife is really about. It's a whole ministry thing. It's more purpose than it is sex. Right? It's more purpose than it is sex. And so you're gonna really understand it when you get in it. Like, what is this? Never mind. Get me out, but that's another story for another day. But yeah, that's what I would tell them.
There, you mentioned a lot of things too, reasons that people, particularly Christian people, get married. I know I had a lot of friends who got married simply because they wanted to have sex.
Hmm.
Period, point blank.
Yeah.
Uh, the majority of those marriages, I got to tell you, did not make it.
No.
They didn't make it because at the end of the day, there were some who stuck together just because, the whole I don't want a divorce and how it's going to look and what the people are going to say. And there were some who stuck, but the ones who separated, divorced, whatever, ultimately, they realized that not only that sex was this much of the relationship, but they actually didn't even know each other. I
Mhm.
often wonder, what do people do in the courtship period? I thought that was the point.
Mhm.
Taking the time to ask the difficult questions, to go deep. And even though there's no sureties about anything, but I thought that's what the courtship period was all about, asking these questions and getting uncomfortable and pushing each other buttons, because you need to understand who this person is. that you're about to spend, quote unquote, the rest of your life with. And if they can't tolerate you in the courtship period, if you see that they go from 0 to 100 in the courtship period, what you think that marriage gonna be like?
Problems.
How you think they gonna change their deportment, their persona, their temperament? How you think that's gonna change just because you say I do? And so there are a lot of times that people walk into marriages with their eyes wide open, but they so caught up with the euphoria of being married.
Mhm. Mhm.
um I can't tell you the number of persons that I have counseled as a single person in marriages. I can't tell you the number of people because they just got it all wrong. And then
And
when they were in it, they like it's like one day I woke up.
but see, that is because, and there has to be a reason why this is happening, and it's happening so frequently. And it is because we are not being honest with this whole institution called marriage. We're not. I promise you, we are not being honest with it. And I think that's one of the areas why I am so vocal when it comes to these kinds of things, because I'm all about being truthful and being honest. And I don't really care what anybody thinks about me or about my ideas or my thoughts, because I understand that we have kept things hidden for so long, especially in this culture. Our culture is all about face. All right.
Yep.
What making it look good for the people, making sure social media thinks that we the best thing since sliced bread, and me and my boo, we got it together. Boo, I know you're struggling. All right, because marriage struggles. There's a lot of struggling in marriage. Okay. Now, what you should do, I don't say go on social media and tell your business, but be honest with the people that you are connected to. Be honest with people that you are mentoring and say, listen, this is what you are about to encounter. All right. When people come to me, um, when they come on and they bring their little boo and they come, I do a little counseling. They give me this much of people to counsel this much, because they say when they come to my office, they don't get married. But the reality of it is, I'm real with them. I tell the truth, and so if I see a problem, I'm gonna ask you, and we're gonna deal with that. I prefer to do that rather than tell you go ahead and get married and then just work it out when you're married. No, 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 no. I prefer y'all work it out now before you go into it. We don't
Absolutely.
tell the people the truth. We don't tell them what you're about to encounter. We don't tell them all of what you have to be prepared for. And because we don't tell them the truth, they enter into an institution they have no information, no understanding of, and they are now left to learn about it in it. And not many of them, once they learn about it while they're in it, want to stay because they recognize this is not what I signed up for.
And a lot of times you find too, people always believe that I can change him or I can change her.
Sure.
You can't
Wrong.
change anybody.
No.
You are taking on stress that you will not be able to handle.
No.
And we get so spiritual with things sometimes, like you said, Nicole, we don't deal with the truth of the matter.
No.
You know, and you could see this person going left and you going right, but you believe that it's going to work. And you have faith in God that He's going to work this out.
Mhm.
Then you must have a lot of faith, like Job, so that when the pain and the frustration and the agony that is going to befall you, you
Mhm.
really have the shoulders to carry it. And it's not easy. And I'm single, and people say to me all the time, okay, I'm what, 43, I'm going to be 44. You ain't married yet, you don't have no children, you're an eligible bachelor. And for many reasons and choices, not that I don't desire to get married, not that I don't want to get married. And it isn't that I I haven't found or seen people who are worthy of me actually settling down with. But then, like I explained before, going through the whole process that brings me where I am now, you see? And they say, oh, you don't have any kids. And for me, and this is what I encourage male, I know what it is to go through life not having my father. I don't want my children to have that up, to have that experience with me not being in that house. I
Mhm.
don't want my children in 5 houses. I
Mhm.
want them in one house.
Mhm.
Granted, if it's a marriage and things don't work, well, that's a difference. But if I could help it and go through the right door, which is marriage, and keep them there, that is what I would prefer to do. And while people may say, okay, the clock is ticking, I'm going to do it and do it on the terms that I know it's right and I'm comfortable with. and I'm okay with that.
Mhm.
Yeah. And that's important too, that you don't succumb to the outside pressures, especially if you're in the church. Like, I can't tell you how many times somebody told me someone was my husband. Well, I would have been divorced at least 7 times.
Mhm.
Okay? Because somebody came telling me who they thought should be my husband. Fortunately, I have a relationship with God for myself.
Mhm.
Yes,
Fortunately. And never, ever, ever, never, I'm talking about never gave in to that pressure, particularly when you watch all of your peers around you being married. See,
Mhm.
because that's a whole other level when you see everybody around you being married and people come and say, well, what
What
happened
happened
to
to you?
you?
yep.
Mhm.
When your time coming? This kind of stuff. And people don't understand, for those who are not strong, not just strong in the faith and their beliefs, but strong emotionally, that can do so much damage. I don't know if men feel that kind of pressure, Leonardo, do they?
Most definitely, especially at my age, and don't have friends and siblings. I'm a triplet, by the way. My brother
Okay.
has twin girls and an older girl, and my triplet sister, she has 4 children. And they're like,
Wow.
"What's wrong with you?
Mhm.
What's your problem?" So there's a lot of pressure associated with it as well for male.
For males as well. So women definitely get that pressure when they come. And then when you start talking about that whole biological clock, and we just know by nature of our bodies and how it works. Hey, listen, at any moment after 40 or even before, for some women, you could go into menopause
Mhm.
and that one name over.
Mhm.
So when it comes to actually being able to reproduce, the time could be narrowing for some women because of their biological clock, for real. That also puts a whole lot of pressure on women. Let me ask you this again, Leonardo. Boy, I'm so glad I have you here tonight. For clearly for someone clearly for someone your age, 43, if you're gonna select a woman, I would think that you want someone at this stage in your life who's able to bear children for you. Now let me ask, this is a personal question. If she's unable to bear children for you, are you the type of man that would be open to consider adoption if that's an option for you?
Definitely, I would consider adoption. And with it, the world has changed so much, and there's so many outlets for people to have children.
Mhm.
There's so many outlets. And, I'm from a Christian background in terms of being born again, but there are so many avenues. Even if the female has passed the age to have children, there are things and ways to deal with those things. So, I mean, once you understand that, you can still have a beautiful life and a beautiful family, whether it's through adoption or other means, so that you can have a family and family life. And I'm open
Now,
to that.
is your thinking, would you consider your thinking above average, or is that kind of what you think the average man is thinking?
That's above average. That's different.
Mhm.
It's very hard to find a lot of men in my set actually thinking the same way,
Mhm.
because the traditional prevailing views are something that a lot of men hold on to wholeheartedly. But
Mhm.
I think it's because a lot of them are closed minded and they lack exposure in a lot of ways. And they've
Mhm.
closed themselves off of so many things that exist. And I think it's hurting us more than it's helping us. And we're robbing ourselves of opportunity to do more and become more and live more fulfilled lives because we operate in a box, because someone said, or because someone feels that this isn't the way to go. And Nicole said, you have to own your own happiness. And at this stage in my life, and I say this even with the women I date, dancing is a therapy for me. I love Latin music and I dance. So as I go into relationships and I meet people, you understand, I don't care how much you say you love Jesus, I love him too, but we're gonna be dancing. Are you okay with that? I'm not gonna stop dancing because
Right.
there's joy. Now, in a relationship, and sorry for me to segue this in this regard, I say anything that is toxic to this relationship, I'm open to changing and compromising. But if you're coming with the mindset that you want to change things that may be good for me and
Mhm.
my happiness, that will not work. That's the difference.
And that's when you're self-aware and you know what you need,
Hmm.
um, in order to thrive in your own life. That's why it's so important for you to know yourself and know
Agree.
what you need before you could present yourself, or before you should present yourself to someone else. Not knowing what you need yourself, you won't be able to properly articulate to that person, this is what I need in order to help me to grow and to be able to meet you where you are. This is what I need. In essence, this is my love language. And so tell me what your love language is. Necole, what are women, the women that you're talking to, uh, what are they saying about the types of men or the kind of man that they want?
Wow, wow, wow.
Do they know?
Well, you know, I talk to a lot of different women. I talk to women from all ages, backgrounds, societies, cultures. So it's kind of crazy. The reality of it is, a lot of let's talk about women our ages. Let's talk about women our ages, and then let's talk about the younger people. I'll talk about the women our ages and what the young where the young girls are right now. Women our ages, and that's between the 40, 50s. We mm, it's hard to say. We know what it is we want, but we don't know whether or not that's achievable. Like, can I find that? Because we've been told for such a long time your standards are high, and that's one of the reasons why you're not with someone right now, because you have high standards. You don't even seem to be in need of a man, because you can do it all yourself. Why do you need him? What is it that you need a man for? Other than, at this stage, I don't think you want to go into childbearing, or if you do, it's going to be late. And, if you want, by this point, most women have already had children if they wanted to have them, or if they're not, they're still waiting and, trusting they need it to happen quick. So, a childbearing is not really one of the major things that you're looking for at this stage. At this stage, you're looking more for a companion, someone to live life with, the rest of your life with, to continue your life with, to be with, someone to bring joy to you, someone to love, and someone to be loved by. So that's what you're looking for. And the thing about that is, we're to find men our ages that are looking for women to be just to be just a companion, to love, to cherish. It's very challenging. It's challenging because I think most men, like Leonardo's age brackets, are still searching for the younger girls. They're still looking for the young girls because they haven't been connected, or if they have, they like that idea. They don't like the more settled woman, and I'm just speaking generally. They don't like the more settled woman who has already have it all together, because like that age bracket, they're thinking, well, we're not going to be in competition, are we? You understand that? We're not going to be in competition. I need you to submit to me. And you don't seem to be one that's very submissive because of all that you have achieved and who it is that you are, and you're the boss. And so how do I get you to submit to me being the boss? So there is a challenge of what women are trying to find during this stage. The younger girls, they want someone to take care of them. They feel as if, I don't know where in scripture, I'm still trying to find this place in scripture where the man is supposed to provide for you. I still, that's not, I don't see that in scripture. Okay, I think God is our provider, isn't he? I saw that. But I don't see where a man is the provider for you. And so we have adapted these things because culture has said that. And because of that, we're waiting. The young girls want a man who got money. so that they can provide for them, and they want someone who is cute and they can play games with and have nice children with and that kinds of stuff, and someone who is successful and they can look good to their friends. They want that kinds of stuff, but they lose the whole idea of marriage being one of purpose. What are you going to do with this man? What are both of you going to do together to fulfill your purpose in the earth? They don't have a clue about that. They don't
And
have a
that
clue
goes
about
back to what we talked about at the beginning. It's what are we saying to our sons and daughters?
that. This is the
Is
truth.
what are we saying to them? Because if we are saying, if these girls come from homes, or what are we not saying, where they have this thought that this man is supposed to take care of them, that may stem from what they have been told.
Hmm. Of
You know
course, it's
that
all it's all learned behavior. That's what it
yeah.
is.
So
It's what and what they've
it goes
seen.
right back.
It's and what they've seen. So again, it's from the homes that have not. They don't have a good perspective of family life, and all of these areas, and we're dealing with that because society is like that right now, where we've lost a lot of the richness of family, as it relates to the nucleus family. We've lost that. That's changed. That looks different now. And so because of that, all of those values have changed. And so what we're passing down to our children is totally different. It's totally different. And it takes voices like Leonardo and myself and yourself to be able to say, this is what it should be like. We have to echo these things every day of our lives. This is why this is purpose. We have to say it. If we don't say it, if we don't have discussions on it, how are they going to hear about it? We can't leave it up to their homes, because their homes are not in a place where they can get truths. And if they are getting lies, then they're going to live those lies out, and then they're going to pass them down to the next generation. And here you have a deterioration of a whole of generations to come. So we have to be voices, and maybe our experiences are the way that they are, so that we can help others. You know,
Hmm. That's
maybe what
exactly
it.
why they're that
Yeah,
way. I
yeah.
believe that. Leonardo, I want to pick up on something that Necole said in reference to, oh gosh, why did this? Okay, this is what happens when you're over 50. Like the thought was there, it's gone. Okay. I forgot what I was going to say. She was saying something about, I believe, the, oh, men around your age, let's say the 40 something, back, wanting younger women.
Want the chilies, the girls.
Wanting
Yeah.
younger women. Now, I could see that for a couple of reasons. Again, um, if you're looking at somebody for childbearing age, I mean, that's just the reality. For childbearing age, then you would want somebody who's younger than you. But across the board, and these are generalizations, is that true? That men in your age bracket and older, they're really looking for younger women.
That's true, I guess, depending from person to person. One like me, I was in that bracket. I preferred younger. And I guess for me, it was okay, childbearing. I need someone who could help me in terms of children, because if they're my age, that may be a struggle. So younger means that should be a little bit easier. But I've since changed that in a lot of respects because I want fulfillment in my relationship. I want fulfillment. And if that comes through connecting and actually finding someone who is in my set, and I believe that we could grow together and we could accomplish. If we have to see a doctor and sit down and have conversation of what we can do or adopt, that is the route that we will take. Because it makes no sense to find somebody who's younger and I can't keep up with her when I reach 60. And she still goes and finds somebody who could keep up with her. When I could continue to grow and ride off into the sunset with someone who is just like me and we could create memories together. So, Jesus.
That's okay. Yeah. By the way, if you're just joining us, I've been so engrossed in this conversation, but I'm talking to Leonardo Burrows and Necole Watson, and we were talking about what's happening with our sons and daughters, and then the conversation has evolved into what are men saying to their boys, what are women saying to their girls or their daughters, and what do we want from each other? What are our expectations of each other? And as mature women like I am, over 50, Necole, I guess almost 50 by now, eh?
Almost,
Yeah,
almost 2 months
yeah,
away.
Yeah. So we're talking about the mature woman now at this stage, and like in the realities of it when it comes to marrying, being paired with somebody. Listen, childbearing and stuff like that. You got to think, no, that's not going to happen unless you adopt or whatever happens at
Mhm.
this stage, unless you are one of the exceptions and not the rule. It's
Right.
just not going to happen. So let me see what some of these comments will say. Oh, hey, Davina, good to see you. Um, Elder Indley says Miranda, the man and woman, could put those things in place before you get into a relationship. When you get in relationship and we get you, what? I think I'm misreading this. Okay, they can put those things into place before you get into a relationship, and then when you get into a relationship, you get to know each other. After sometimes it changes, and then after some time things change. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Things
Okay.
change after some time. It
Yeah.
does.
So and that's true. I mean,
It does.
because but me never being married, but of course dating a multitude of people. I believe that courtship period. I mean, nobody's gonna convince me otherwise. That's why you spend time delving
Mhm.
as much as you can into who this person is. I love Judge Lynn Toller, who used to do divorce court. She would always say, before you mix your gene pool with
Mhm.
somebody else, you need to get to know as much
Mhm.
about that person as possible, and to the degree of how honest and open that other
Mhm.
individual is, of course, because
Mhm.
at the end of the day you only can accept what this person gives. But again,
That's
that's why
all.
we have intuition, that's why we have instinct, that's why you have Holy Spirit, and
Yeah.
all of these things working together. If it does not feel right, I
Yeah.
know women who, I'm not a proponent of online dating. I simply
Mhm.
am not, right? I know
Mhm.
women that it has worked for,
Mhm.
but I also know women who have had the most horrific experiences
Yeah.
because they decided to do online dating. I'm not a proponent of it because, as a storyteller, a writer, a journalist, I have created personas for people.
Mhm.
You understand? I can put
Mhm.
anything online, and I could sell you a dream easily. I
Mhm.
could do that. And that's what a lot of people do in these online profiles, etc. And that's why some people get catfished. And that's why some people, I know of an encounter of a woman who left her home and, hey, welcome back. I know of a woman who left her home in the Bahamas, went to Atlanta to meet this guy. Um, met her. He came, met her at a hotel. He robbed her. Thank God he didn't like rape her and beat her up, but he
Wow.
robbed her and left her. You
Wow.
understand? And she came back home. I mean, shattered and rattled, but thank God she was still alive. And I'm thinking like, whoa, okay. And of course, this person said he was a pastor. Yeah, who
Oh
knows?
wow.
Who
Wow.
knows whether it was true or not? But I'm just saying, so the online dating thing works for some people, but I know that's not an option for me, because in the back of my mind, I know you could say anything, you could put anything in print. You
Well,
literally
the reality of it is, Miranda, even the people who you dating, you seeing face to face, they can say anything.
of
A lot of the
course.
time, a lot of the time, it's just a matter of timing. It's a matter of timing. And I think we rush things too quickly. We move too quickly. You can never get to know a person. I mean, many people have talked about the fact that, oh, we were married and some things I never knew until
To
my
the
husband and I got
extent of
married.
how open that person wants to be with
For
you.
sure, for sure.
Yes.
But you can think that this man is being open. I can think, say me and Leonardo are dating. I can think, oh, he's open and he's honest with me because he can give me that, he can make me think anything he wants me to think. He can do that. The man can make a woman think anything that he wants her to, because women are open. We're vulnerable to them. Here comes this man who's really at me. He's really after me. I can't hear you, Leonardo.
we're vulnerable to you as well.
Yes, yes. And we can make you think that anything that we want to make
Thank
you
you.
think. So it goes both ways. But what I'm saying is you need Holy Ghost. That's for sure. And a
Mhm.
lot of times when Holy Ghost is talking to us and saying, hold
You
on, red
ignore it.
flag, red flag, red flag, red flag, we ignore him because we
Yep.
are caught up in the idea like this has not happened. I have not dated in years. And here comes this man who seems to be halfway decent. I'm dating him, Holy Ghost. I'm dating him. Okay. And so whatever you're saying to me, hold on for a little while because I want to see how this thing gonna roll. So we push him to the curve. So most of these decisions are based on the fact that we ignore, we
Absolutely.
continue doing some things that we have been warned not to do. We put ourselves in these situations because we do not want to listen.
I agree. Leonardo, what disturbs you most about women in general? And these are generalizations.
Wow, that's really an interesting question.
It is.
I guess I won't say for me it's disturbing because women are quite interesting and they're very different from woman to woman. What one expects and what one wants is different from what somebody else may expect and what they want. So for me, I just feel as if I want to take the journey and discover who she is and her wants. And I hope for her it'll be the same thing for me, so that we can meet that for each other and make it fun. And then even when I get disgusted because she may be selfish or I feel that she is being overbearing, we can find a common ground if we're working to go somewhere and then make things work. But I am open-minded in a lot of ways. But one of the things that disgusts me the most, if I can find one, is a woman who's totally disrespectful and doesn't understand that, listen, if I'm gonna make life happen for us, I need you to have my back. I don't need you to support me doing foolishness, but I need you to help me fly because we're going to fly together. I'm a young man. I'm driven. I'm very strong. I'm not intimidated by a strong woman. As a matter of fact, I will encourage her to be strong because I don't have a problem if I have to cook some nights. My grandmother taught me how to do that. I think that finding the middle ground so that we can bring that balance is okay. But one, she is not disrespectful because if she's disrespectful, she will she will bring you down and not build you up. And one like me, if that woman she carries me and she pushes me, there's nothing that we won't be able to do because I will not only give her the moon and the stars, I will give her the universe. And I do think that there are men out there that think the same way.
Do you and your parents sit down and talk about women?
We do in a lot of respect, and sometimes they tell me I'm
And
crazy
what are y'all saying to each other? What are y'all
because
saying to each other about
different
women?
things. And then, especially when I get in the conversation with the married ones, they laugh because they say some of them that type of woman don't exist.
Ah.
That type of
The
woman
kind of
don't
woman
exist.
that you're talking about, this
Right. And
matured, got your back,
right. And I reckon
independent.
that some of them are better because of their own relationships. And
Mhm.
I would feel better if you would give me the advice that say, son, or whatever you call me, because they call me many names. Listen, if you're gonna go into marriage,
Ready,
look, look,
activator.
look. These are the things that you should look out for. But don't be so bitter because yours did not work.
Mm.
Because you could use the experience to help guide me, and I could use that. But if you use the experience to make me feel like it, but my life or my relationships won't work, that doesn't make any sense to me.
Mm.
Are they agreeing with your? You seem to have a really diverse perspective, and it's actually kind of refreshing. If it's real and sustainable for you, seriously, it's kind of refreshing. What I want to know is the way you think. Is that among the pairs, the people that you talk to, the man that you hang around, is that the kind of general consensus, or are you that exception?
It's split because you have the traditional thinkers, and I'm in church and involved in that aspect of things. So some don't see my views as biblical or churchy, but I don't fit the mold. But I've come to understand that if you want to fulfill life and you want to fulfill relationships, you have to do what is best for you and the person you're in the relationship with. And you can't actually take on your relationship by somebody else's own because their road to walk may be different from yours. While we're picking up pieces from relationships that we see or those around us, every relationship is unique and you have to find your own niche.
Hmm. Okay, Nicole, I want to ask you the same question. What is it that bothers you most about me?
Um, that they I think it's because they haven't done the work like how women have to do the work. I mean, well, let me say it properly. Let me say that correctly.
I
A lot
remember
of
these are generalizations. Let me just put
yeah,
this disclaimer.
a
We
lot
know that
of
everybody is different and all of that
yeah.
stuff, but just generalize.
A lot of men don't invest the time to discover what being a husband is about. And what does that mean? I think they don't spend we don't teach them enough. They don't spend enough time talking about that. The women's conferences are all about being a homemaker, making sure your husband is happy, making sure you know how what it is to be a wife so that when you are found you can be this perfect wife. The men's conferences are about how to make money, how to be empowered, how to run the world, how to get 5 and 6 businesses and get streams of income. Now, I do understand that men are more vocational, women are more emotional, and so we get that men only into their work. That's what their part is. But they have to be able to understand what a woman's role is in their life. They have to understand how to handle her. That she is the weaker vessels because she's more precious, and they have to know how to deal with her. My problem is a lot of them have not been trained. They've not been taught. And so when they come to you, you want to say yes to them. And you want to say, yeah, let's make this work. And then when you do, when you find out you're disappointed, you ain't been trained. Now I gotta be a teacher, and I don't want to do
Yeah,
that.
right.
I
Yeah.
don't want to do that. I need somebody who understands what a woman, what a wife, the role of a wife, what a woman is to you, the importance of her in your life, and how to handle her, how to deal with her, how not to deal with her. I need someone who knows that. And I need men to do their homework, do the work, do the work. Don't just leave it out there and just choose a pretty face and say, that's the one I want. Now she just have to, you know, come into wall, be who I want her to be. No, no, do the work. We do our work. You do your work.
I think the operative word was they need to be trained or taught, and they're
Yeah,
not being. And this stems from a conversation that I had with Leonardo, and it goes back to what are you when you go into these groups with these young boys and these young men or whatever. What are you saying to them about women? Who's teaching them not to objectify women? Who's teaching them how precious she is? Who's teaching them her values? And so that's what nobody's teaching them. So nothing. They have nothing to leverage.
Yep.
They have nothing. And if they look around them, they're not seeing many great examples of men who are valuing women, holding them in high esteem, and treating them the way that they need to be treated, or adjusting to the woman that they have. Because I even think in marriages, what I've seen, um, some marriages, I want to say they fall apart, or they go in different ways because they don't grow together. They don't adjust to the person who the other person has become. When they married at, let's say, 20, 21, or 25, they were this person. Now at 35, 45, they're changing. Somebody is matured. Somebody has grown. Somebody has picked up different interests. Somebody has decided that I want to, let's say neither one had any college degrees or anything, and maybe the man might decide he want to go to university, or the woman might decide she wants to do that. They're not really adjusting to who the other person is becoming. And when you're not able to make those adjustments, to swerve in my vernacular, or to pivot, or whatever you want to call it, you're going to be in trouble. you are going to be in trouble because you may have married a homemaker whenever you got married, but that's not who she is anymore. She's more than that. And if the man can't accept that she has become or is becoming more than that, and vice versa, he may have been that man who just went to work and came home every day and he was there, but now he has business interests, Necole, that requires him to be out of the house longer and more hours than he did when you first got married. If you're not able in relationships to
Mhm.
make those adjustments with each other, that's why people grow apart, because they're not willing again to put in the work. And that work now means, okay, I have to adjust. He don't come home 7 o'clock anymore now. He don't get home till like 11 or something like that. So I need to start switching. Either I could stay and wait up for him, or we can have to arrange a different time when we could meet at some point to connect, because now our hours are not the same anymore. That's work on both parts.
Yeah.
That's work trying to make those adjustments to schedules and all that stuff. And then when you're talking about children, that's a whole other level. But people are not constantly, my pastor used to say, constantly evolving and growing. That's what we do. We evolve and we grow. And when that doesn't happen, he's not going to get you. He's
Yeah.
not going to get that you're a woman now who now a lot of women have started these little networking business and they got to do, the little stuff on the side. He's not going to get it because before you didn't have those interests. You was happy just being there for him. But some one day you woke up and decided, I want more. I could be doing more. And I think that's why we need to spend more time talking in that courtship period,
Mm.
exploring possibilities. You don't know, neither one knows what the other is going to become at that point. But if you're talking and leaving room for
Mm.
somebody to grow, and understanding compromise, right? Compromising with each other. Who Leonardo is today, if he were to get married today, 10 years from now, his wife's not going to have that same husband. Some
Mm.
things are going to change. And the question is, in his present position now, let's say 10 years from now, you become the commissioner or assistant commissioner of police or whatever that is, right? The demands of that position and all that comes with that is going to change. You're not going to be that same person. I think that's what we need to understand when we start to get involved in these relationships. Even with friendships, your friendships with whether it's your peers or whatever, they have evolved. You're not the same. You don't spend the same amount of time together like you used to,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean you still don't have care and concern for that individual. You have to understand that people develop different interests along the way.
Like,
They
And
want to do more, and they have different connections and networks nowadays. You have to be able to adjust to that.
that's a whole, what you said it was so loaded and explosive. That's a whole level of maturity that a
Mhm.
lot of people, they really aren't there. For fear of many things, that they're losing the person, they're not gonna get the
Mhm.
same things that they used to. The fear of the unknown has a lot of people living in bondage, and it causes strain on the relationship. I think we have to get to a place where we understand we do not own people. People are free to have their own mind. People are free to have their own opinions. And like you said, through conversation and communication, we could see where people are and make adjustments so that our relationships could evolve and we could actually do what's best for the entire relationship. But sometimes we get so close minded, so controlling. And there is a notion that if you don't see it my way, something is wrong with you. If you don't see me as the man, as I am the head and I am control, something is wrong with you, when sometimes it's just an understanding that I want something else. I want something more. But a lot of times we're not open enough and we're
Mhm.
not mature enough to have those kind of conversations and say, even if we don't want to, honey, this is gonna be hard, but I trust you and I'm gonna be here supporting you. That creates a whole different dynamics.
Mhm. but then I again, Leonardo, I think it stems with who are you marrying? Who are you in relationship with? Because I mean, you chose this person. This is the person that you felt was going to be able to be with you for the future. Because we don't marry for our present state. We marry for our future, for where we're headed.
Should.
So this is the person.
Right.
Yeah, this is the person that you thought would have been able. Where did that come from? Where did that perspective come from? So if you have chosen someone, then obviously you have faith to believe that as time evolves and as things go, we're going to make adjustments. It's not going to be easy. You probably might not never agree on some of the adjustments that you have to make, but you make the adjustments because, like you said earlier, we in this. We ain't going nowhere. I have a friend, she was like, Necole, I was to the door packed. And my husband came downstairs and said, where you going, honey? And she said, I'm out of here. I can't take this no more. And he said, no, you're not going anywhere. If you can't take it, but you're going to take it here right here. We're going to be in here and this together. We're going to work through this together. And that's the type of person you need to have married. And she said she knew then that he was the right man. Even though they were having trouble, she knew then that I had married the right man.
Mhm.
Because it wasn't at the point of, okay, well, go. And when you go, don't come back. Those types of responses, you can't not have married the wrong individual. So again, you have to know who is it that you're going in this life journey with from the very beginning. And when you take the time to make those choices, and you make them properly, then when you have these challenges, you're able to work together with it. And then also, I believe that as you journey in marriages, you have to take time for counsel. You got to take time for counsel. I believe in therapy. I
Mhm.
believe in therapy. I'm the first one to say go to therapy. I believe in it. And you,
Professional therapy,
oh yes,
Absolutely.
please.
oh yeah, oh
Please.
yeah, yeah. I jumped on a plane when I was going through, and
I
I
have
went to
I have
somebody in
one on
Boston.
speed dial.
I went to somebody in Boston and stayed there. You understand what I'm saying? Professional therapy. But the reality of it is you need that through your marriage, through your relationships. You need that every now and then you need to stop and go together. There's nothing wrong, but we need to go together to make sure that we are doing it right. We're gelling together. And that's how you keep it going. Everything needs a maintenance checkup. And it ain't all sex. We think maintenance checkup is jump on a plane and go on a vacation and have sex. That's maintenance. But sometimes maintenance is just sitting down in front of a counselor and let's talk about where it is that we've been having some rough patches and try and smooth that out and try and move on. So I believe in therapy.
It's just important to what we're talking about takes a level of maturity, and we mentioned that earlier. Because it doesn't even matter if the person says, I'm in it and you ain't going nowhere. You have to be mature enough that even if she walked out the door, you see, she may not have turned back. She might have needed that period of separation.
Yeah.
Mhm.
She may
I
have
agree.
needed that. But if you have a mature a mate who understood, you know what, she needs that. Let me give her space to take that time, whatever that is, and still keep the lines of communication open because it's different for other people. Some
Yeah.
people need to get away because if they don't walk away in that period, something might go upside somebody else's head
Child,
or
in our
something,
society, you walk
you
through
know.
them doors, these niggas ain't coming back for you. I don't know which one gonna pick up the phone and be like, baby,
Maturity,
you all
I'm
right?
saying that's it's a level of
Baby,
maturity that says,
you all right?
No,
No, they gonna be like, who you with?
no. I mean, if I, I people mindsets are different. My own is like this. If I say I love you and I'm interested in you, emotionally, I may be hurt, I may be scarred by you going. But my whole thought process is I want you well. I have to let you go. It hurts me to do it, but I love you and I want you well. And I'm not that was how my last breakup was. And the thing was, oh my God, really? Are you serious with this? And what I did, I facilitated the transition. And I made sure that there was no bad blood with the separation. Because I believe if I say I'm interested in you, I want the best for you, I shouldn't be the ones to hurt you. I
Right,
shouldn't be doing that. And that was hard. That was painful. I couldn't
right,
sleep. I couldn't eat. I heard people talk about a broken heart, but boy, when you go through that, that's a different type of feeling.
Yeah.
The thing that brought me satisfaction was I allowed them to do what they wanted, and I gave them that,
Yeah.
and I have peace. But it
Yeah.
makes the situation worse when you feel like you have to lord over people and you have to beat them and you have to fight with them. That
Yeah.
isn't true love, and that's a
Yeah.
whole different conversation for another day. And I digress. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's
No,
fine
that's
because
good.
that goes back to knowing who this person is that
Mm,
you're in relationship with and what
mm-hmm,
their love language is and what they need. If
mm-hmm,
this is somebody who's not confrontational and if they say leave me alone, I need some time, you need to know to back off and give them the time that they need to process whatever it is, and then they come back and talk. You need to know who you with.
mm-hmm,
Yep.
Some people they don't want to go head to head, back to back with. They don't want to. They don't do that. They don't do that well. And when you do that with that aggression and aggressiveness, they're going to retreat.
Yeah.
mm-hmm,
You need to understand that, and what you expect from them, the same energy, you may not get. You may not get that from them, but that doesn't mean like I said, they going for good or whatever. That means give me some time to process this.
mm-hmm,
On the same token, you may have one who in head to head with you. If you want knock
mm-hmm,
heads with somebody, boom boom boom, see how far that gets you.
Yeah.
mm-hmm. The
Boom
young,
boom
the
boom,
young,
knock your
the
heads.
the young women in our society, they seem not to want to let the men go. And they want to hold on to them. I don't care how bad he's treating you. I don't care. That's the way they are. They don't care how he's treating me bad. He's go out. I gotta be frustrated all the time, but I ain't letting him go. And then letting him go. Why? Because it's my baby daddy, and because he been good. He's still a good man, and he still is take care of his children. These are the criteria for him to stay around your house. He's take care of his children, and he's helped me out every now and then if I needed a little bit of money or whatever. So I ain't gonna just let him go. Meanwhile, the man out there got something else going on, or actually just not prepared to be a husband, not prepared to be a husband to you and the children that he has created. All right, he just ain't want that right now. Right now, he want to be free. He don't want to be stuck home. He want to be out with the boys and whatever. So he's not prepared. But they won't let him go. And we need to start telling these young ladies that you got to let him go. You okay. You don't need him to pay your bills. Let him take care of his children because they're his. But you don't have to be in a relationship unhappy, up all night trying to figure out who we were, texting him, where you at, when you coming home, you ain't home yet, or whatever, whatever. No, that ain't the way to live. That's not the way that we should live as young women. And that is because we don't value ourselves. We don't think we're good enough. So we feel as if we need his validation. So we need him to always be right there by our side that validates the fact that we are good, who we are. You understand what I mean? And so we're trapped in, we're teaching these young ladies to be trapped in these relationships and to keep your mind. That's what we teach them. Keep your mind at all costs. Meanwhile, these guys out there ain't checking because they know they could do whatever they're going to do and come right back home because you're going to keep your mind. Sometimes you got to tell them, let them go, and tell them they can't come up in your house no more. Let them go.
That again comes to knowing who you are, understanding your own value and your own work. And as we continue to pour into them, the process that I always say, and in the program that I have, my Swerve program, my program starts with self awareness. I need you to understand who you are first before you present yourself to anybody else.
Yeah.
If you don't understand who you are, what you need, then you don't know what to expect from other people. So
Yeah.
that's why you would try to hold on to somebody who just absolutely means you no good, is of no
Mm-hmm.
value to you, just because you have this mentality, well, piece of man or half a man
It's
is
better
better
than
than no
none.
man at all. You understand? And some women really believe that.
Oh, I'm telling you they do.
They
I'm telling you
really
they do.
believe that
I'm telling you they
they
do.
would scoff at me because I don't have a man, but they
Yep.
have a man
Yep.
who's in and out of their life, and
Yep.
they feel that's okay, and
Yep.
that's okay for them. I'm looking like, what, really?
Because it
No,
gives them
that's
validation. They feel as if having a
so
man
sad
is they're
because they don't
validated
know
by
who they
that.
are.
They don't know who
They
they
don't
are.
know who they are.
They don't know who
So
they
for the man, Leonardo, let's get for the man who is unstable, who's moving in and out of this woman's life or women's lives, because many times they're juggling multiple women. What's going on in his head? Why is he doing that?
Why is he doing that? That's a hard question. Now, you find that oftentimes when you see males like that, that may be generational. And I do believe that there's such a thing as generational curses. While we shouldn't use those things as an excuse to govern our lives, because once you at an age where you understand, you should be able to make your own decisions and make better steps. Now, my father, he was one of those persons. As a matter of fact, when he had, when my mother had asked for him, my mother at the time, she had just turned 18. He was a married man with his home and his family. And a month before we were born, he had another lady had a child for him. That's the type person that he was. I said to myself, I do not want that for me. That buck is going to stop here. And unless we as males decide that we want a better way, we repeat that same vicious cycle. If we get caught up in the mindset and the notion that, oh, to be a man means you need as much woman as you could have sex with everyone, be macho around the place because that is what manhood is, we would have missed it. So my encouragement always, especially when I talk to males and those that I mentor, even in my work environment, is you have to broaden your perspective. You have to broaden your mind because the things that influence the way you think, the way you behave, are the things that you give yourselves to, what you listen to, what you watch, the people that you hang around. And if you find that you stay in these same environments, you're going to repeat that same vicious cycle. And I find myself, I said to my brother before, I said, listen, if we can move to the next level, sometimes where we came from, you can't go back to some of those places because they hold you hostage to something that is not healthy for you. And I find that while a lot of men want to make those good choices and want to do incredible things, sometimes they're not making the decisions that put them in a better position to make better decisions or empower themselves a little bit more. And whether that is, okay, you're going to build up your spiritual lives a little bit more, you're going to invest in yourself a little bit more so that you could upgrade your skills and do all of those things. You make personal commitments and set goals, and you have values and you write them down, even if you need to, so that you can not just have them there, but be accountable. And then find someone, another strong male, who you can be accountable to. And that is why I'm at the church where I am, Bahamas Harvest, because that is one of the things that Pastor Mario he teaches and he believes. And I use him as a mentor, but in the absence of that, when a male feels that I got this and I'm gonna be okay, that's not the case.
Necole, we're wrapping up now. So some parting words. So what are you saying to young women?
girls, child. No, I'm only joking. Um, what I'm saying is for you to, first of all, like Miranda said, know who you really are, know your worth, know your self worth. Um, discover that. Discover why you are here. Discover your purpose. Discover your reason for being. And in doing so, recognize that marriage is not it's not the prize for singleness, for living single. It's not, now that you've lived single, now the prize is to be married. But it really is a purpose. It is to fulfill God's purpose in the earth with another human being. And so you can't do that if you don't know your purpose in the earth. And so you must discover that first. And in doing so, if your desire is to connect with another person and to both fulfill God's purpose in the earth, then He will allow that to happen on one day, and you will enjoy it. You will enjoy it. But get to know who you are first. Get to know God's desire and plan for your life, and allow the other things to happen for you. And He will. He will open doors for you. He will bring you the gentleman that you desire, the one that you can enjoy your life with, and that you can have beautiful kids with, and just have a family that you've always wanted. He will do that for you. But you got to first put Him first. and allow him to show you who you really are.
That's a great note to end on. You've been watching Swerve with me. This is a show where we have adult conversations. We're here Sundays at 8 p.m. Eastern talking about those things that are not traditionally discussed in the church setting, but we bring them to the table and we talk to them. So next week, my guest will be is 10 years abstinent. She has been abstinent for 10 years. So we're going to delve into how did she do it and what keeps her going. 10 years abstinence, honey. You don't want to miss that.
Oh
And
boy.
then for Father's Day, again, we have an all male panel from men around the region and the US. And we're talking about sons, what's happening in their communities, what are the common threads that they're seeing, and how we can help to prepare our sons for manhood, to be husbands, to be productive and successful citizens wherever they may be across the world. So that is going to be. So thank you guys for hanging with me. Make sure to tag somebody that you believe this conversation will be helpful to. And I'll see you again next week on Swerve with me. Good night, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Good night.